Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode from the Scale Up Thursday series. My name is Rashmita, and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. I'm here today joined by our very own host, Vinayak Vivek, and of course, our special guest speaker, Satvik. But before we start the session, I would request Vivek to bring in the code of conduct for all of us. Thank you, Vivek. By now, all of you know the drill. We are all here to learn together, and so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section is open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Our speaker will answer all your questions during the session, so please feel free to drop all your question in the chat section. With this, thank you all. Enjoy the session, and over to you, Vivek. Let me first bring him in.
Hey Rashmita,
Hello.
good
Hi.
good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
What a nice day, and it's started with raining in Bangalore. Hey, by the way, people who have joined us, just drop in where you're joining from in the comments, and it will be very nice to say hi to you from India, from Bangalore. That's it. And by the way, I'm Vivek, senior cloud advocate, and I'm going to bring in my co-host Vinayak here.
Hi
Hello,
everyone.
Vinayak. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Harishmita. Hi
What a
Vivek.
love,
Hi.
what a lovely
Hi.
weather in Bangalore.
Yeah, it just started raining. Hi everyone. My name is Vinayak Hegde, and I'm the CTO in residence at Microsoft for Startups. I work very closely with startup to design programs for them, and also work with them to help them on their technology and product strategy. So everything that is related to technologies, such as choosing parts of the stack, scaling them up, choosing a DevOps strategy, or anything related to product, or hiring. I actually help them with it. Yeah, and that's about me. So over to you, Vivek. Let's get the guest and let's start the show.
Over
Yes,
to
I'm
you,
going to
both of
bring.
you, and bye. I'll be
Bye,
backstage.
Rashmita. Bye bye.
Bye, Rishmita.
Please stay in the backstage. Okay, I'm going to bring in Satwik. Hello, Satwik. Good morning. How are you? Oh, you're on mute.
Hello, all. I'm good. How are you guys?
We
Doing
are
good,
good. We are
doing
good.
good. Welcome to the show. And this show is all about we bring in startup founders, CTOs, or engineering managers to share their journey. To share with us on how they build their startup, what were their challenges, what they were facing, different kind of challenges while they're building the product, and it's kind of a journey, right? It's always a difficult journey. We all know that to building a startup is always a difficult journey, and that's what this show is all about. And thanks for being here. And just go ahead and introduce yourself, Satvik.
Absolutely. Hello, all. I'm Satvik. I am the co-founder and CEO at Vitra.ai. So Vitra.ai is a AI company where we can translate videos, images, podcast, and text to 75 plus languages with just one click. Right. So we are focused on rich content media translation, and the ultimate goal is to eventually support the metaverse, the VR and AR ecosystems in the translation engine as well. So I worked with companies like Cisco, Avi Networks, VMware in the past, and have close to 10 years of experience in the industry. And then started Vitra with the vision of helping content reach more and more people. That was the that was the motto.
Yeah,
That's
that
very
that's
nice.
fascinating. Yeah, that's fascinating. I think 75 languages is a lot. I think how many Indian languages and do translate into out of those? Because I think India as well, right? We have a lot of languages. We have very
A
diverse
lot of
culture. Yeah.
we support around 12 languages from a voice perspective, and I think close to 15 languages when it comes to the simple text and image side of things.
Cool. Cool.
Fantastic. So let's get started with what is that area, what is that problem statement, you were trying to solve, and why this problem statement, right? So let's start with that. So I'm going to bring up your slide.
Sure. Yeah, we are building the future of content translation. Like I said, I'm Satvik, co-founder of Vitra.ai, and my other co-founder is Akash. Both of us, we have known each other for the last 15 years, right? We've been best friends, benchmates, classmates from way back in pre-university days, right? And that's how, together we have built a lot of apps and products in the past and scaled them to 14 million downloads way back when we were in college, right? So, I mean, for the Microsoft Nokia ecosystem, actually, right? Our apps were the top 10 apps on the store back in the days. So, that's how we started. I mean, that's how we've known each other. We have won a lot of hackathons like Sequoia Hack, RHOK, etc. together, right? And I mean, there's that whole bond, which is there where we always think of building or hacking, and that's how eventually we became co-founders of this company. We have a fantastic team, right? All of them hired remotely during the COVID time, but we started from office this April, and I personally feel the productivity has gone like 3x, right? For the fundamental reason that you can brainstorm without barriers of a Zoom call, right? So we have a solid technology team, data science team, data associates, and sales and marketing and various other functions, right? HR, etc. So this is our core crux of the team. And over 65-70% of the team is the technology side of things, right? So a lot of effort goes into the technology, and we are close to 30 plus people overall, and we're scaling the team step by step. Yeah, that's about me and the team, right? So
So, yeah. So, Satvik, before you go on to the next slide, I mean, I saw that you started coding as a 14-year-old kid. So, I just want to talk a little bit about that. How did you start programming? What attracted you to it,
yeah,
and also maybe a little bit about your journey. What programming language started. I heard that you started building apps for the Microsoft Nokia
yeah,
ecosystem, but maybe tell us a little bit about that. What got into computing, like what fascinated
yeah.
you.
I think we had our first computer when I think I was a 4-year-old kid. Both my dad and my mom were in the similar fields. My dad was into, I think, Lotus and other things. Managing his personal stuff, and my mom was the head of the department, electronics and computer science. Right, so both of them, they were into the field, right? And we had our first computer in 1994, and I think internet by 1998 9 ish, right? So the dial up and all that. So basically the whole culture at home was having a computer and figuring out stuff. And I got into computer because I wanted to play the first best game, that was Dave. Right, that's how I got into computers. But eventually, I mean, the passion towards coding came, I think, through curriculum plus, I mean, logo and other things is where I started building basic stuff, right, way back in the days when I was in school. But eventually, by the age of 13, 14, the language that I was actually coding in was Java, right? J2 SE, J2 EE, all that stuff. That stack is where applets, servlets, all that stuff, right? So that's where I was building products, swings, the whole ecosystem on Java is where I was building stuff. And eventually, like I said, by the time I came to college, I mean, I was building apps on the Java phones, the J2ME phones, right? The smaller devices. But then I saw this Microsoft ecosystem, the booming, right? So I mean, I just loved the tiles and the new fresh design that was there. Just I think I got my first Microsoft phone and realized the Windows phone basically, right? And realized, I want to build apps on this, and started learning, I think, C sharp, right? That was the time when I started learning that. I was a big fan of web technology, right? I think by the time of when I was 16, 17 years old, I had a couple of websites running. almost hitting like a few million visitors per month kind of traction back in the days. And then eventually, yeah, mobile was something that attracted a lot. And Windows Phone was our first biggest hit. I mean, I started building, and again, Akash also came in, and we were building apps. I would say, I think three of our apps was in the top 100 list of the Microsoft Store, right? And that was incredible for us. And we built our, I think, two big apps was a Maps app where we had actually hacked a .NET API and brought into the mobile phone ecosystem. That was the one of the app, and the other one was Facebook, right? Using APIs again, right? So these two are what we built for the Windows Phone. And back in the days, Facebook was just a actual official Facebook app was just a browser element, but we could build a lot of native functionalities right within the application. So these were a couple of apps that we built. And yeah,
Cool. Let's maybe talk a little bit about the problem space and
absolutely.
what is the kind of problem that you're solving. Yeah.
So basically, one realization that came to us, I would say 2018, 2019 timeline was uh, everyone creates world class content today. I mean, people communicate by creating content, right? But all of them create content just in English, right? Or any single language that's of their choice. And the problem is, in the world, only 15% of the people in the world speak fluent English, according to stats. All right. And what happens is you're absolutely building a language barrier right away while you create content, which prevents you to reach more and more people. And this problem is not just prevalent for a single individual. I mean, whether it's $100 billion enterprise or even an influencer with just one follower on Instagram, all of them face the same issue, right? And if you just limit yourself to video as a content, which is the most dominating content format today, the whole process of video dubbing or video translation is a very very time consuming process where the whole process hasn't evolved in the last 50 years, right? If you look at it, even today you need someone to write down the transcript, a translator for every language, right, who would manually translate it, and a dubbing artist for every language. Let's take for example Spanish, Portuguese, Hindi, Tamil, right? Each language has a different dubbing artist. You need video editors to stitch them, graphic designers, all of these people put together in a chaotic environment. And imagine if one of the word was spelled wrong, you had to redub it, rework, etc. Right? It's a very human intensive and time consuming process, and that's where we felt uh, we have to automate this whole thing, right? And it should be as seamless as things should happen in like fraction of few minutes, right? Or few seconds, and not wait for days or weeks for things to happen, right? And that was and we also realized personally, uh, it takes so much time. We worked with a few agencies to figure out how much time they would take. Even for a 5 minutes video, it took like 3-4 days for a turnaround time. And we realized, I mean, this is the reason that no one does this. It's not like people don't want to reach more and more people. It's that it's so chaotic and expensive that people don't want to just do this, right? So this was the biggest problem that we saw back in the days. And yeah, we felt, I mean, it looks absolutely like a complex problem, but we have to find a solution, right? That was the thought process that came into our minds.
Cool. Cool. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the solution as well. Like this insight was is very fascinating, right? And again, it's a real problem, right? I think people want to create content in the language that they want. People want to create videos in the language they want. Like even if you look at YouTube, I think though the majority of the content is in English, you also see regional languages, whether it's European, whether it is like Indian languages. So and they are also doing well. They also have this niche, and
Absolutely.
Actually, I think it becomes really hard for discovery, even if you might have really good content, but to discover this, if it's not translated sometimes into English,
True.
because many of the indexing languages also, or in the keyboard support is also not as evolved as it should be,
True.
right?
True. Absolutely. And the other issue that we also see is the old school way of just subtitling is, and imagine watching a movie, your eyes are not this way, it's always on the bottom, right? So
Exactly.
subtitles wouldn't actually solve the problem, but it assists you, no doubt, but it still doesn't give you an experience of the content, right? So,
Right.
I mean, the experience of watching a movie or watching any content, an ad or an educational material in your own language gives a different experience altogether. So that's where we build the future of AI based content translation, where though we started with videos, we've extended this to images, audio, and text, where we can translate all of these rich content formats to 75 plus languages with just one click. And this is the time when you can actually reach 8 billion people seamlessly, right? And this is how things have evolved in the last 2 to 3 years, where we started with bare minimum 10 languages to begin with, have been able to scale up to 75 languages across regions globally, right? And today I think we have a coverage of over, I think 96% of the people are able to comprehend 75 languages globally. And
Cool.
this, I mean, I think earlier we were just discussing how many Indian languages do we support, right? So out of these 75 languages, we support 12 Indian languages on the video side of things, right? And we support 60 plus international languages across Asia, South America, Europe, and Southeast Asia, etc., right? Across the regions globally. This whole process is 100 times faster than any manual process in the world and is over 90% cheaper. So you're getting the 2x benefit, of both it being extremely fast and absolutely, cost effective, right? And this is a statistic, for a 1 hour of video, right? And we gave it to someone who can do it at a very nominal price, right? It at least took 5 days. That was the best case scenario, and some bigger agencies needed like 10 days to do it. In Vitra, the same 1 hour video would be processed in 15 minutes and with less than $200 seamlessly, right? So this is the cost and time benefit that people could see. And accuracies, I mean, on an average we even see up to 95% or even more, right, in accuracy. And the best video that we have seen has 99.2% accuracy in production, right? So this is from the customer side of things, where how we measure this is word error rate, right? And that's how we measure how the accuracies are. And I mean, few videos absolutely go even to 100%, but this was an influencer in the US, where across multiple videos we could see the best case accuracy. And this is something that he just took live. This was in Spanish and French, and he was absolutely excited about how well we're able to do using PRAI.
So,
So,
so, uh, so go ahead, Vinayak.
yeah, yeah, Vivek.
No, my question to you, Satwik, is, I mean, I'm just curious about, something here is, most of these videos or influencer videos are all live videos. Is there something which you have where a live, translation is happening?
I mean, live as in it's recorded, right? I mean, live as in
Like
basically
now,
influencer.
now we are speaking in English.
Correct.
Is it's live everywhere and people are
True.
watching, and
True.
there are people from different countries who are watching this
Absolutely.
particular
Absolutely.
show, right? So, is there a way,
Absolutely.
we could go live in different languages? Uh,
Absolutely.
is that something which is there, or you're
Yes.
planning to
Yes.
do that?
So that is the pipeline that we have actually built, right? For It's is one of the largest media houses of India, right? So we were kind of doing that for the football La Liga matches, right? All the Spanish commentary would be translated to Malayalam, right? With a 5 second delay. That's it, right? So basically, what used to happen is in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. they actually had to turn on their studio, get people, and do a live commentary. But that is a POC that we tried with them, and they were excited. I mean, imagine Spanish to Malayalam. You would never have a translator who would know both, right? So that's one of the biggest benefits of our platform. It's like you don't need English in the middle, right? It's any language to any language. And
Yeah.
yeah, we did a POC around that, but it's from an infrastructure perspective, it's very expensive, right? So it's not that technology is not live per se, but 2023 is for that. Absolutely. I mean, we're focusing on how do we optimize, how do we help scale the live streaming infrastructure, right? But today all of the content is for recorded, right? All our customers are they just do it on recorded content.
So
Okay.
I had a follow-up question, right? One is, I think I'm myself learning Spanish, and what I realize is, um, uh, uh, especially when you do translation, two kind of things playing, right? One is like the context, right? It's
Absolutely.
slightly hard to, like, from one language to another to kind of translate the context, because you just can't translate the words, but you have to translate the intent. So how do you
Absolutely.
take, and I have a follow-up question, how do you take that intent into question? And the other question is, I think you little touched upon a little bit, like, and I think I was seeing this video, from somebody from Netflix, and they were talking about, sorry, they had this several popular series like Money Heist, which is in Spanish, or I forgot. There are several Korean series as well. I think Squid Game, right?
Squid
Which,
Games.
yeah, which became very popular. And the challenge was that translating, like, say, from, say, something like, Korean to French, right? And you talked about that Spanish to Malayalam is such a niche or such a weird combination, right? I think, like, for example, you might have Malayalam to Tamil, and then many people might know this. So you need to know the intersection. That is one.
Absolutely.
Or you need like a common substrate language that, like, for example, you need to know, let's say you're taking like something like a Squid Game or a Korean serial, and then you need to find somebody who's fluent in both, Korean and, say, French, and that
True.
combination is hard to find. The other
Absolutely.
other option is that you have to take something from Korean and then translate it to English, and then from English to
True.
French, and then every time you translate, there's a loss in fidelity, right? Because
True.
every language has its like
True.
core components. So yeah, so I think you talked about, like, you can kind of, swap between language. So maybe if you can, let me know if you're covering it later in the.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
actually covering it later. It's
yeah,
called, the technology itself is called context aware engine, right? It's
yeah.
not just a direct translation system that is in place. It's the contextual translation that goes in, right? Which I'll cover it in detail in the technology slide actually.
Yeah, but yeah, these are the two problems that if you can touch upon, whenever you bring that up, would be very interesting,
Sure.
because
Sure.
yeah, because this is like a real problem, like,
Absolutely.
that is there both in audio, video, and also in text.
True. True. Absolutely. I'll do that. I mean, that's in the deck, in the next few decks. I'll go over it. Okay. So we've built a very simple and seamless, easy to use solution, right? The whole product is a drag and drop solution, right? Whether it's a video, an image, audio, or obviously a text is just paste the text, and that's it. All you have to do is one click, and everything would get translated, under the hoods. No complexity for the user, all the complexity in the servers, right? So that's how seamless this is today. Talking about our customers, right? This is where we have started, but like some of our top customer segments are BFSI, FMCG, e-commerce, and media. And today we have scaled this to pharmaceutical and various other verticals too, right? Talking about our top customers, it's HDFC, ICICI, Kotak, Bajaj ecosystem, and in the FMCG e-commerce we have ITC, Flipkart, Target, right? In media, we have Star and Viacom, right? In the pharma, we have Dr. Reddy's Lab internationally, right? So these are some of our largest customers, and majority of the use cases here is around um, the marketing, right? People want to reach more people. They want their products to reach more and more people, right? So taking an example of HDFC, we work with several verticals in HDFC, right? The product marketing, content marketing, social media, new product launches, whether it's their credit card or personal loan, the website, right? Net banking, everything that you see that's translated for HDFC, almost all of the rich content formats is done by Vitra, right? Whether it's images, um, videos, right? All of those content formats is done by us. ICICI is, we've translated their website. We're getting into audios as well, right? So several use cases there. Kotak again, Kotak Mutual Fund, several of these companies using video translation for launching their newer products pan India. So when it comes to ITC, one of the largest FMCGs of India, they have this Ashirwad Atta, which is the most popular atta too, right? So their recipe videos, right? They do aloo paratha and various other things. Their recipe videos are just created in English, but with the power of Vitra, they're able to translate to 8 other languages. And this is like thousands of videos is what we're doing there, right? Seamlessly. And the tat wise, if you imagine, they take months to create the English video, and the 8 other languages are done in like few hours, right? For that volume of content, and that's the speed benefit that they're able to see. Flipkart again, a huge amount of content on the images side of things, image translation, right? And Target again was into videos and some of the farms and stuff. And Star and Viacom is obvious. It's the subtitling plus creation of the media side of things, right? So the OTT and various other research purposes. So these are the various use cases that we solve for these companies. And so far, I mean, the technology has also evolved. It's been 2 years since I think some of the companies like ICICI, where we initially started engaging, and they have seen the whole process of evolution, ICICI, HDFC, and how the whole technology has evolved in the space, right? From initially where the voices were not so great to today even doing voice effects, voice modulation, a lot of these things which are coming right in as a part of the technology. So yeah, so these are our customers from India and the globe, right? Target is from the US, Zolve is from the US and Middle East, right? So some of these customers use us day in and day out. Any questions? I'm happy to take up around.
Uh, yeah, I think Vivek, are there any questions from the chat till now, or we can just dive into the technology, like
We can
I-
dive into the technology.
cool,
Don't have questions as of now. Yeah.
cool.
Awesome. Let me just show some demos before diving into the technology, right?
Sure.
So this is from our own customer ITC. Let me just play one of the original videos which they've done for this Bingo ad, right? Playing the sample for you.
बिंगो ओरिजिनल स्टाइल चिप्स इतना हल्का इतना टेस्टी कि कंट्रोल ही नहीं होता सॉल्टेड और चिली के मजेदार फ्लेवर्स में बिंगो ओरिजिनल स्टाइल फ्रॉम आईटीसी.
So creating digital content, faster is the biggest goal of all of these people, right? So we focus on digital content and how quickly they can reach their audience, right? And this is how it would look if it's translated to Marathi seamlessly.
बिंगो ओरिजिनल स्टाईल चिप्स इतके हलके इतके टेस्टी की कंट्रोल होत नाही सॉल्टेड आणि चिलीच्या मजेदार फ्लेवर्स मध्ये बिंगो ओरिजिनल स्टाईल फ्रॉम आयटीसी.
If you observe, the background music is retained, the synchronization is apt, right? All of this is under the hood. Everything happens right within there. And I'll just play another foreign language, for the context.
Fichas de estilo original de Bingo. Muy ligero y muy sabroso que no puedes controlar. En sabores salados y chili Bingo estilo original de la ITC.
Right? So this is how videos get translated. And I'll just show another video where a couple of our other technology pieces are ingrained right into this. I'll just play the original video from KBC, right, of Amitabh Bachchan.
कि लहरों से डरकर नौका पार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती। नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है, चढ़ती दीवारों पर 100 बार फिस.
Right? I mean, I'll just play the dubbed version, which is in Telugu, right? And one of our technology pieces is the lip synchronization, right? You can closely observe that actually Amitabh Bachchan starts talking in Telugu as well, right? The lip synchronization when dubbing. And if you look at the whether the media industry or the movie industry as a whole, in the history of the industry, you've never seen a lip being synchronized, right? Whether it's a 1,000 crore movie like KGF, it's still, the whole movie is in another language, the lip sync is in another language, and just the dubbing happens. But this is the next step, that next mile that we're planning to go into, and create a lip synchronization as well. Playing this for you.
తరంగాలకు భయపడి పడవ దాటదు ప్రయత్నించే వారిని ఎప్పుడు ఓడించరు చిన్న చీమ ధాన్యంతో నడుస్తున్నప్పుడు ఎక్కే గోడలు 100 సార్లు జారిపోతాయి
Right? So this is the experience that we're trying to bring in, right, when it comes to dubbing, and change the way dubbing is done, once for all.
Yeah, this is absolutely fascinating. I don't understand Telugu, but as I said, like I'm learning Spanish, so I could understand it. And again, like Marathi is like my mother tongue as well, so I could understand the Marathi as well. So I think it's fascinating. I think it's almost like magic, right? Like you probably will tell us what goes behind, but like seeing technology at work at this level is like absolutely fascinating, right?
True,
And I
true.
think the
So,
last maybe like 10 years or so have been like amazing, with so much happening in audio video, and
Absolutely,
us having the computing power to actually pull it off as well, right? So yeah, so I
absolutely,
think I'm absolutely kicked to hear about the technology as well behind this.
absolutely.
so Vinayak, each time we are doing Scale Up Thursday, we are getting more and more fascinated on different technology. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is also again,
Yeah, this is
it
also one
takes
of
you to
the
the very different. Yeah.
yeah, this is also one of the, I think, things about the show, that we want to expose the users to different uses of technology, different uses of technology on Azure, how how entrepreneurs around the world are actually solving this real world problem. Because I think we can talk about technologies and products till the cows come home, but I think nothing is more powerful than people building stuff using that technology. That's always like fascinating, right? And then I think it's also like showing people like what is possible using technology, and that is, I think, definitely what keeps me and Vivek in some sense going. We are technologists ourselves, but every time we see, we like, oh wow, I didn't know that you could do that, and
Yeah,
that kind of feeling is always really great to have.
absolutely. And this is a sample of image translation, right? So here we're talking about images getting generated with colors and everything right in place, the font, the bold, all of that contextually placed right in that place, right? And this is where a lot of fintechs, BFSIs of India use us aggressively every day, including companies like Swiggy and Zepto have used us, where all their e-commerce content or fintech content, which they take it live every single day. It's faster and quicker for them to go live pan India, or even globally in some of the cases, right?
So
So this is
Satwik, in a past life, I have worked in the ad tech industry.
true.
So I was just curious that do you also work with ad tech to generate the creatives?
I mean, that's absolutely the next big step that we're thinking from a GTM perspective, right? To start working with some of the advertising companies itself, right? Like ad tech companies, where imagine that's a huge value add, right? So regional and local location based translation of videos, images, text, all of these formats. So that's the next big GTM shift that we're planning to do, starting from Jan 2023, right? So that's going to be huge, right? I mean, we wanted some of these technologies to mature because we cannot risk the high tech space, right? But today we are in a stage where absolutely, this is like a huge value proposition for any of the ad tech companies as well, where they would say, yes, I mean, I'm going to serve your ads globally, but it's going to go in 75 languages and help your app or whatever your service is reach in localized way to all of your customers, right? So it's a big value proposition, and that's the GTM plan for 2023.
Cool, cool. Yeah, happy to make an introduction as usual. So yeah, maybe yeah, let's give me go to the next slide. Vivek, do you have any questions?
No, no, I'm just writing down some questions. I have a couple of them. But I want to wait for, we to, go to the last slide so that it gets answered.
Yeah.
Sure. So when it comes to the technology, right, a lot of this technology is proprietary and patented, right? So uh, lo- let me just go over each one of these items. I mean, I've just summarized this at high level bullets. So though that we have several other things internally happening, right? So like I said earlier, the whole technology of translation is not just a neural translation, but it's a context aware engine, right? So where we have auto suggestion, auto correction, semantic correction as a part of the stack fundamentally. And what this means is across languages, the context is by default derived. And again, this context is mapped to the type of content piece as well. Right? I'll give you an example. Let's take image for an example, which says uh, big billion days, 50% off, right? So the context there is you need to retain big billion days across languages, right? The contextually, that's what it's supposed to mean, right? So we retain the context of the words, how it has to be said, the sentence itself. All of these happens across this. So the auto correction and semantic correction is like, I think you might have used a tool which is called Grammarly, right? The
Yeah.
popular tool. Imagine Grammarly is for English today, but that is what we have built across 75 languages, right? So that's the power of that's the power of technology there. So it automatically corrects sentences even if there are translation errors, understands the context. Let's say I'm talking about blockchain, right? It understands the context that it is blockchain, tries to derive relevant words even if the words are misspelled, whatever, right? It's able to auto correct in the context itself. So even if there is an issue in the original transcript, we can auto suggest and derive the context in the translation. So that's the beauty of this technology that we have built called the context aware engine. Very recently, I think around 4 5 months back, we built the context mapping as well, right? Where you just, I mean, this was specifically done for one of the largest e-commerces of India, right? Where they had, few, I think 70,000 plus word mappings and various other things that they've built for over the last 10 years, and they said we want this to be fed to your system, right? So in our case we always had to train each of these models, but now we have this plug called context mapping, where this is like a smaller micro model on top of the bigger model, right? That's how we try to build this called context mapping stuff, where we can customize each and every customer's data if they have. Depending on that, we can build a context mapping. So
So this is built in house, is it?
yeah, this whole technology is built in house.
How do you
So
like, how do you onboard? Like I'm fascinated like by this, but how do you like say now you have 75 plus languages? How do I let's say onboard a language? Like what are the steps involved in how do you collect the data? How do you kind of train it? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
absolutely. Absolutely. So today, for speech to text, I think we had another meeting with Microsoft for startups, right? Nandita and others earlier. We use Microsoft for speech to text, right? So the transcription side of things, we've tried our solutions. We have tried a dozen of solutions, done a detailed research, and we feel Microsoft is absolutely the best in that ecosystem, right? The Azure ecosystem, right? So and we've stuck to that, and it's given a huge improvement in transcription, the transcription itself. Plus the biggest value proposition that we also see is the overall, the rest of the pipeline, whether it's translation and the voiceover, all of that is benefited because our speech to text is so good that Azure or Microsoft provides, right? So and overall improvement in the word error rate, the overall improvement in the customer satisfaction. All of that is what we could see when we started using Microsoft Speech to Text, right? So that's what we use there. So how do we onboard a new language? Is that comes after the Microsoft Speech Text comes in. The rest of the stack is ours, right? So uh, at each time, right? So we have something called Vitra Universe, right? That's our community where of translators, proofreaders, a lot of these people who help us with data development for the AI, right? So uh, a lot of data is available, but the contextual data and a lot of these things is what we try to derive, and what we try to create using our Vitra universe as a community, right? And um, we try to build the data for each of these models: auto suggestion, auto correction, etc. And some of this is a huge amount of data corpus that we take. Some amount of that comes from book content. Some amount of that comes from word content, word mapping content. Ultimately, all of this is like, all this we have like 75 languages worth of context mapping for each of these models that we've built, right? So that is that is how we build the data, and each of these models are trained separately. I mean, the textual NLP models are faster to train compared to the voice and few other things that we'll discuss in detail later. But yeah, these are faster to train, and once we train these models based on the corpus, again, all of this is done on GPU systems, right? And once we train, we again, the team, the larger team around sits down and evaluates the previous model, the existing model, almost manually. We want to do it so that we want absolutely a human to check if there is a real improvement, and what is that improvement, which areas do we see that improvement in. And that's how we do a checking. And obviously there are automated checks, tests, etc., which derive the outcome on a larger basis, right? Like statistically we figure out that. But manually we want people to also see and feel the difference if there is any post training. And once we get a sign off, we go ahead and deploy to production, right? So this is how the pipeline of training and data development is.
On the MLOps side, again, so typically, I think we talked about, say, for example, Java. And most kind of systems that we traditionally have built in non-AI systems or non-ML systems are like very deterministic, right? You make a code change, you do some testing, and then you push to production. Maybe you restart the service, and then everything generally works most of the time. Whereas with AI, I think it's very iterative, right? So you need to. I think there are three things at play. One is the code itself that generates the model. The second one is the data that is used for training, and third is the model, the binary a model that you have, which actually does the inferencing. So how do you kind of track, and how do you maybe do like A/B testing, or
Correct.
I mean, you talked a little bit about a quality process, but I want to understand more on the deployment side of things. How do you do deployment as such? Yeah.
Yeah. So deployment, I mean, we are not very agile when it comes to model deployment per se, right? We take time to deploy, and it doesn't happen like once a week. Though our actual product, we release it every week, right? So the web application stack, but the AI side of things gets deployed once in at least 2 months, kind of a timeline where everything gets set, and we deploy it in one shot. And all of this is, I mean, I'm going to discuss how we have structured the AI, the queuing side of things, and all that stuff in the next slide. But the deployment is not very agile because it does take time for us. I mean, it's a multi-step process, right? It takes 2 to 3 months for us to make a full-fledged release. Like, I think we can easily say it's once per quarter, right? Is when we actually deploy the AI side of things, or make changes to the models, make changes to the code, etc. That's how we do it. And all of these are primarily it's a priority queue and an API, which I'll discuss in the next slide, as to how the models are structured, deployed in production, right? So that's how it is done today.
Cool. I think let's kind of dive deeper into that,
Sure.
because yeah.
Sure. So, talking about a few other technologies that we have built, we have the voice effects and voice modulation, right? So, this means we can make a person speak like literally whisper or talk as if he's talking in a football stadium. an auditorium, the reverberation, all of these effects is something that we have brought in. Interestingly, we support baby voices, right? A lot of TTS systems in the world just supports male and female voices. We support baby voices too, right? So this is when it comes to our voice effects and modulation. A lot of effort has gone in this space, right? And eventually the next step for us is to get into the voice emotion side of things. That's the technology that we're building right now, or at least researching around right now. The emotions is where while a person is actually talking, he would also be crying, right? Like some of the Indian um, Hindi TV serials, or that kind of mode is what we want to get into. Laughter, crying, all of these emotions, right? And when you're playing, the biggest technology, right, which is both compute intensive as well as the code that has gone into, is into the synchronization bit. Let me just explain this. This is where, let's say, when you have 10 words in English, right, like when you're in a speech of 10 seconds, usually the translation would have 14 or 15 words, right? So again, it's different across different languages, right? Thai is different, Spanish is different, right? But how do you make so many words talk in the exact same time, right? We have built this. Even the synchronization happens even at the level of frames, right? So this is synchronization does the timing, and pauses are also like up to millisecond accurate, and this whole process happens in less than 2 seconds. In the real world, right, a dubbing artist ends up recording and re-recording the same dialogue like 100 times just to make sure the synchronization is accurate with the video. That's how it happens in the real world. Here is just one shot, 2 seconds, and it's done, right? This is the place where we see a huge value in the technology that we've built, right? And like you saw earlier, we have the lip sync manipulation and the real-time video translation, which is something that we are working on right now, right? Let's dive deep into the technology, like we discussed. I'll just go over a few things. Right, the whole stack, the web application is based on TypeScript, JavaScript, Next.js, Nest.js. That's the whole stack there. And obviously, the whole of the AI backend is Python. Right, we use absolutely Python and frameworks like PyTorch, TensorFlow, and some of the things at the speech level. Right, so um, talking about our application, right? Application hits APIs to the load balancer, and that's where we have our web server sitting in, right? So um, the whole of our AI is completely deployed on Azure, right? Let me go over how things work. As soon as we receive a request, or let's say 10 requests of video translation, right? It's not a synchronous process, right? We have a priority queue on top of Postgres and Redis where all the requests queue up, and each of this process or a request easily has 10 to 18 models that it has to go through before it gives an outcome, right? So the queue happens at the level of even the task level, right? We call that as task, each of these models, right? And that is how it goes through. And we have both F series and N series deep learning servers, right? So some of these are just inferencing engines, NLP, and other things can just run on pure compute servers, right? Or which are high-end compute servers. That's good enough. But video level stuff, a lot of those things run on the N series, which needs the GPU and various other things at the level of CUDA and stuff, right? So that's where each of these requests goes through, let's say, context aware engine, speech synthesizer, vocoders. It goes through encoder, decoder constructs, Tekatron, and we run on our context aware engine, like I said earlier. All of these things happen, and lip sync is a very, very costly affair, which runs on CUDA again. So, NVIDIA's servers. So this is how the whole stack happens across, and it's all queued, and each of these tasks gets executed. And that's when we also use, I mean, while I'm talking about the stack, we use speech to text from Azure, right? So that's where we fetch the data. The first step of this whole Vitra AI is Azure speech to text. So all of this happens seamlessly, and this whole priority queue, we use Azure functions, where that is what literally monitors the whole queue, right? And while things are executing here, we manage our deep learning infrastructure by using a process manager, right, which actually manages each of these internally, with how it executes inside the deep learning server. um, and Here the process manager also looks at uh, what's failing, what is not failing, how are things progressing. Few things like lip sync takes a lot of time, and are the processes crashing. All kinds of monitoring happens using this. And sometimes a few crashes are because of memory and various things, right? And in case something has crashed, the process manager takes care of bringing back that individual task up, right? It does all of these things. And yeah, so we use Cosmos for a lot of intermediate data storage, right? A lot of stuff happens across these 18 different steps that it goes through. So the intermediate data, right? Each level or each task level data is stored across these tasks in Cosmos DB. And once the overall processing is done, we push everything to the CDN, right? And we've built some of our internal dashboards ourselves. We use Power Apps for building some of our other internal dashboards, right? Managing stuff. So this is basically uh, at a high level the workflow of how things happen, right? And in the production. So this is just the production system. Obviously, our dev and other things are kind of different, where a lot of emphasis on deep learning server, that infrastructure, a lot of storage, a lot of data storage, model versioning. All of that happens in the dev side of things. This is mostly our production server, how it looks like.
So I have one question that, like, where do you store all these videos or the text which gets uploaded? Um, which kind of storage, or where do you store it?
All of this is completely in the uh, s- blob storage and CDN, right? That's where all of this data is stored, because first of all, none of this is in structured or like that, where we can store it in a relational database. Only the metadata of all of this is stored in Postgres, right? All the metadata is stored in Postgres, the processes, how it happens, the tasks, right, the statuses of all of that. All that management happens in Postgres. But we even dump all the JSONs and everything right to the storage itself, file storage
So
basically.
do you have multiple environments for this structure? Because of course you can't have production only production environment. You will have dev environment
Yeah, yeah,
and
we have dev stage.
the other environments.
Yeah,
So how will you design that kind of an environment for testing? You might not be using the similar kind of web servers or deep
true,
learning servers. So how exactly is that structured?
true. Actually speaking, both the dev and staging is a very very scaled down version of what you're seeing here actually, right? It's actually the same structure, but a much scaled down version, where obviously we use smaller web servers, and the deep learning server is just one server where everything gets deployed there, right? That's how the structure is absolutely the same, right? And talking about dev, the only thing is dev is a little different, because dev has a lot of other things happening chaotically. The data science team, a lot of other servers in place, not just this infra, but we also have a lot of other infra, model training infra, and data collection, that infra, data fine tuning infra. All of that comes into play in the dev side of things as well, right? It's not just this code, right? So yeah, so that's
Yeah,
what
so
happens.
I had a follow-up question to earlier, right? So you said there are different models, right? So how is the sequencing kind of static, or is the sequencing dynamic? So uh, like maybe like say the emotion mapping and say the lip sync, do they run in parallel and do they combine, or do you like serialize those, or that changes based on the task? So if you can tell us more about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it does. So basically, how we have built this 18 different models is any model's input can actually be plugged into any model's output. right? Like output can be plugged into any input, right? That's how we've mapped this. So basically, our whole backend is such that uh, we can even choose, like we have F and N series servers, right? So the deployment happens such that several of these tasks, let's say lip sync is on N series, and context aware is on F series, right? So even these models are deployed across different systems, different IP addresses, right? And um, you can even map and say, uh, okay, I just need these three tasks to run, and that's a process, right? For example, what happens in audio translation is just that this podcast translation is a subset of video, right? But you can define the steps as to how you want to map. It's literally like Lego blocks in the backend, and that's a lot of effort that's gone into how we structure the data, right, for the input and output across these different models. But yes, that is what we've done. As long as the type of data that each of these models accept is similar, you can literally map any model to any model, and that would run that way.
So yeah, depending on the task, actually, you kind of figure out, what is the maybe sequence or parallelizing as well.
True,
Okay,
true.
that brings me to the other question which I had, which is, um, so when I was hearing you talk about this technology, obviously you have a translation happens at maybe three or four different layers. Like first, obviously you have text, then you have voice, and then you have the video itself, right? So let's say if there is an overlay text on the video, would it get translated to?
Yes, that would happen too. So we worked with again one of the largest ed techs of India, where they wanted their educational content, not just the voice and the text and stuff, but even like things like DNA, mitochondria, all of that stuff to be translated to, right within the video, right, and with no distortion, that exact 1080p quality, right. We translate the text inside the video. We call that as on-screen text. We do that as well. Yes.
Okay. And if you can tell us more about the nuances of working with text versus working with audio versus working with video, what are the challenges that you faced on that front? Maybe if you can go a little deeper into that, that would help.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, text is the best, right? I mean, it's relatively less effort on the front of other issues like synchronization, the way you spell things out, etc. Right? It's mostly like uh, you input text, you have the text where the translation may be incorrect, but you can still fix it quickly, right? So text is relatively the most straightforward translation system that you can build. But with voice and videos, the thing comes is people want the frame level synchronization. As soon as they see, let's say, a new face coming in and talking something else, you need everything to be synchronized to the frame, right? That is how the audio and video works. And even the way people spell the same word, right, across regions. Let's take Spanish for example. The Mexican, Colombian, Spain, right, all of them have different accents and the way they speak Spanish, right? And today we also support all of these, and you can also train your own uh, way to spell that word. All of those stuff is there right within the system. But that is the power that we're trying to build. But that's the biggest problem too, right? So you have way too many variables in the video and the audio space, right? And image had bigger problems. If you remember seeing one of the image translation samples, people have a lot of colors, lot of distortions in an image, a graphic or a banner, social media post, right? So we had to literally pixel pick the text, re-render the backside of the image, and re-render the text in the similar color. All of that happening automatically, right? The person just sits, wait for 2 seconds, and that's when the image would come. And the person would just want to see that it's perfect, right? That's how powerful the technology has evolved. Obviously, it's taken a year and a half, where all of these small nuances like pixel perfection when it comes to images, and when it comes to videos, it's like small things like frame level accuracy is what people expected, enterprise expected, right? And that's something that we've built across. the different models. And yes.
So Vivek, any questions do you want to take from the chat? I saw there were a couple of questions. Or if you have
Yeah, there
any
was.
other, we
No, I
can.
have one question before we go there. Uh, is there any way I can consume some of your technology via APIs? Say, if I'm building something and I don't want to rebuild any of these like context
Sure.
or the other technologies which you said like sync and all those stuff.
Sure.
So, is there any way I can consume your APIs?
Yeah, all of these technologies fundamentally have APIs too. Some of our customers use our APIs as well to power their LMS, CMS, or some of their internal systems, right? So, but we would recommend people to use our dashboard, because a lot of these technologies that happen in the backend, we've built a rock solid application where, like, auto suggestion, for example, happens right within the UI too, right? So those kind of benefits is what you would see if you use a tool like ours. But absolutely, all of these are available as APIs too, which you can consume. Yeah.
I think the question is very similar to this one. There is one question which has been asked by Ankur, that is, uh, they are looking at an engine to build a voice search, and is it something where they can use your services?
Absolutely. I mean, today, I mean, if I read the question, it's talking about a bot for voice search, right? So today, um, Reliance, I mean, if I can take a name, is where they are actually powering the two-way communication, speech to text as well as the voice on the other side, end to end with contextual translation, right? That whole stack is being powered by us. I mean, this is mostly, bot-based interaction that they want via voice, right? It can be powered, and we do have APIs around that as well, right? When it comes to APIs, we can actually help you with more granular stuff. Though in the product you see four blocks which says video, image, podcast, text, right? With the APIs, there are more granular stuff which we can expose, which people can consume.
Got it. And very curious question. I think every founder will have this curious question, which is like, how do you price such a product, and how do you think about like, okay, what should be the price for such a product? If at all, if you want to open it up for anyone to use these APIs and consume it, anybody can use it by paying model, right? Obviously, for different customers, you can obviously based on their work, you can obviously price them, but if it is open for everyone, how do you price it?
Absolutely. See, when it comes to the pricing, at least with enterprises today, it's been such that uh, we have multiple slabs based on the volume of consumption. Uh, you can you can actually uh, you can actually fixate yourself to a certain slab and use that many credits. Or basically, credits determine the number of minutes, number of images of content that you would consume, right, that month. That is how we kind of price enterprises today. Interestingly, we're launching our B2C product on December 7th on Product Hunt, Vidalis, various other places, right? So that's the plan. It's called translate.video, and we were able to get that domain, right? So that's the product that we're planning to launch on December 7th, where it's just a simple SaaS, obviously a toned down pricing for creators, content creators, the whole content creator economy, or even the smaller businesses, right? So starting with a $29 plan for up to 10 minutes of usage of videos, right? So that's how we're planning to price today. And that's a lot of feedback that we got from the market, from the creators, right? Our goal was simple. Like I said, it should be 90% cheaper than the what the market can do. And it is viable, right? With scale, I think, with even this kind of infra, with scale, I think that should still be viable. That's what we're looking at. So it would start at $29, starting December 7th.
Perfect. I think we are looking forward to that. And there is one question from the audience, which is like, the Power Apps comes with no code, low code. Then why we did not choose Power BI for data analysis, which you're showing in your architecture? How do you justify to use of Power Apps here?
So, I mean, we're not using Power Apps for data analytics per se. These are just internal dashboards for, I would say, uh, you know, doing a few actions actually, right? Managing an action. It's not actually the business analytics kind of data that we crunch out here. For that, actually, I mean, back in the days, uh, we've started building products, right? So each of these models has its own dashboard. That's how we built it from day one, and that's how it's continued for some reason, right? Those of these models have their own dashboards and stuff. um, some of these metrics are kind of determined through various processes that we have built, like infrastructure itself, right? So Power Apps is mostly for internal dashboards, various other activities, not into analytics and stuff. But yes,
There is
we
a
will be glad to consider looking at Power BI and other things eventually.
there is a demand for your product demo actually. So
Absolutely.
we did that, by the way. I mean, just before we move on to the architecture and things, but probably at the end for 2 minutes, if you can spend some time on demoing your product again, that will
Sure.
be helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there is one question I don't think so. We need to answer that, but we did talk about the clients or the customers of the Vitra. So please go through the video again, and you can figure that out. That's one question we just wanted to answer there. Cool. So let's move on, Satwik.
Sure. So, I mean, this is primarily almost the end of the presentation, where our goal is simple as a company is to help translate content 100 times faster than any other process in the world. That's been our thought process since, I mean, even before me and Akash thought of coding first line of code for this product. Our goal was, can we make this 100 times faster? If not, there's no point in doing it, right? Because there's already, people do translations, a lot of these things happen in the world already, right? And that was our goal, and I think we've been able to live up to the our own goals that we set. And today, it's been seamless with how things work. And for the demo, I think just 2 minutes I can show the product itself as to how it works, right? So this is the product. Translate video. This is the next product that we're going to release for the B2C, right? So it's simple, seamless drag and drop application where you can click, drag and drop the. Oh, I think you're not able to see the screen. Just a second.
No.
Yeah, we were just seeing the slides. If you can reshare, yeah.
Yeah.
So while you're sharing that, I have one amazing question for you. What is the meaning of Vitra?
Oh, yeah. That's a interesting question that people keep asking us, right? So this is almost 2.5, 3 years back when I actually had a investor pitch, right? Literally 2 hours it got scheduled, and we just had the idea in our brains, right? So we had to actually pitch it to the investor, and we didn't even have a domain, honestly, right? So we had to come up with a name. We were thinking it's video translation. We just picked few letters from here and there and made it Vitra. So it just stands for video translation.ai, which is Vitra.ai. I mean, a lot of people come back and ask, what is the meaning of Vitra in Sanskrit? Right? I mean, I wish there was a word called Vitra in Sanskrit, but it
It's
doesn't
there.
exist.
That's why I asked you.
Oh, is it? Okay. So,
Yeah.
so
That's
it's
great.
as simple as this, and people are excited when they get to know how simple few complex things even are. Yeah.
That's nice. Actually, video translation and Vitra is also a Sanskrit word as well, which relates to it. Very good. That's nice. Go
So
ahead.
this is the product.
Yeah.
It's very simple and seamless. Yeah, it's a simple drag and drop application where you click on this, drag and drop a video, and I'll show you how some of these videos are processed. There's one of our customers and influencer over the last 3 decades, TJ Walker.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I think Satvik froze.
Yeah, no worries. I think until he come back, so there are two things which we just wanted to share as well. Um, you're there, Satwik. Okay, Satwik is back, so we can talk about it later. We are not able to hear you.
So
Again, I think he is again. We lost him.
Yeah. Yeah, Satvik, are you back? We couldn't hear what you said for the last minute or so. So just going to start the demo.
okay, sure. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we can
we
hear
can
you
hear you.
clearly.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, this is the product where all of this is completely auto generated. None of this is something that you have to worry about. This is the video, and I'll just show you how the video gets created and translated seamlessly, right? Playing this original video for you.
Are you able to work around your weaknesses? I confess, I know nothing about technology. I don't know the difference between memory, RAM, gigabytes, mega. I don't know what any of those things mean.
Right? And this gets translated. I think we've chosen French here. I'll just show you how this works.
Êtes-vous capable de contourner vos faiblesses? J'avoue que je ne connais rien à la technologie. Je ne connais pas la différence entre la mémoire RAM, les gigaoctets, les mégas. Je...
Right? This is how it gets translated. I'll just show you another one in an Indian language where we'll talk about how synchronization and various other things works. I'll just play a video for you.
The greedy mouse. A greedy mouse saw a basket full of corn. He wanted to eat it. So he made a small hole in the basket. He squeezed in through the hole.
Right? And this video gets seamlessly translated to Hindi. I'll just play this translated version for you.
लालची माउस। एक लालची माउस ने मकई से भरी एक टोकरी देखी। इसे खाना चाहता था, इसलिए उसने टोकरी में एक छोटा सा छेद कर दिया और छेद के माध्यम से टोकरी में घुस गया। उसने बहुत सारा मक्का खाया।
Right? This is how the product works, and it's that seamless. All of this is auto generated. We also have the technology where you can edit all of these seamlessly, and in real time, things would get recreated in the video. Right? You don't have to wait. There's no waiting time whatsoever. Recently, we just brought in a feature where you can also record your own voice as well, upload a piece of voice if you want, but everything can be seamlessly generated, across male, female, and baby voices that we have, right? So that's what the product is.
Is that what you use the neural voice for? The baby voices we were talking a little bit earlier. Like you had different voices. Have you trained it on the neural voice?
True. We've trained on the neural voice, and the voice effects and voice modulation engine kind of transform this at the level of speech synthesizer levels, right? So we work a lot at the level of waveforms on top of the neural voice and manipulate these voices to recreate various other things.
Interesting. Interesting. Cool. I think I wish we could go on, but I think we have lots of questions. We're a little over time, and are there any questions, Vivek, or we can wrap it up now?
I think we can wrap it up. I don't see much questions there. No, I think we covered all the questions as well.
Yeah.
There was one comment for you. Good luck, Satwik. This is a great tool. So I just want to bring that up for
Thank you.
you. Yeah. Cool. Before we move out, I just want to bring in two things. One is for startups, you can apply for Founders Hub. Vinayak, you want to talk 2 minutes on Founders Hub, like what all we have?
Yeah, so Founders Hub is our Microsoft Startups program. So you can go to startups.microsoft.com, or even click at the link below and use the reference email ID to register, and you will get access to various benefits. Azure credits, GitHub credits, Bubble.io. In addition to that, you also get access to technological advisory, and we will, as you go through the program, we also help you kind of build your MVP and help you grow your product and also sell it to customers through the Azure marketplace, or through our many salespeople through the co-sell motion. Yeah, so please apply if you find that this is relevant, and the link is like actually at the bottom of your screen. So looking forward to working with you. And then also, like, Satvik has been through this program as well, and yeah, I think yeah, and it has been probably interesting for him to actually build out his technology as well.
True. Absolutely. It's been absolutely great. And thanks to Vinayak for all the support over the year. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Yep, and I have one last thing to talk about is we have our next episode on 1st December. So do join us for next interesting startup. So that's the thing. So that's also posted in the chat and it's also on the screen. So do join us on 1st December. So until then, take care, have fun. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Satwik, for coming on to the show and sharing this insight, and it was just amazing. And each time we are doing the scale up Thursday, it's getting better and better and better. Like, we are getting fascinated about different technologies, how people use different technologies to build build something really interesting stuff, right? So I hope next time we have a even more interesting one again, I believe. So this is going to be fun. So thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you, Vinayak. Thank you, Rashmita, for being here as well. And do join us on Reactor LinkedIn group. This is the link, we have also shared it in the chat and it's all on the screen. So do join us there because we keep doing lots and lots of such interesting sessions. Until next time, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Bye
much.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye bye.